was playing with my brother and his band in San Jose at a place called Tracy Gardens. It was where the Valley Fair Shopping Center is now. You might be familiar with that. But anyway, it was out in the country in those days. It's way out. There's nothing else. There's orchards in this place. It's like a big barn where somebody in country music would appear sometime or another there, and I got a chance to play, with a lot of those people because I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time. And so George would come out. He was just stationed at Moffett Field in the Marines. So he'd come out and he asked me to come up and sing one time, and we thought, whatever, we'd let people come up and sit in. So he came up and he kept singing. He'd sing like this. We were playing so loud. He started singing like this, but he sounded like Lefty Frizzell or sort of like Hank Williams. He was really good. He sang all those people's songs, and everybody, did a double take. I said, "This guy's good for just a Marine, So he came out every Saturday night, paid to come in, and we get him up to get singing. George, we call him Burrhead. And anyway, so we told him, I said, you should go to Nashville. Because that's, Nashville even then was the place to go. I don't think that's the only place at that time to make it country music. But anyhow, so he eventually he did. He went to Nashville. But I got a chance to go on the road with this band. I told you that I played with opposite Bob Wills and so I was playing at Beaumont at this one time, and I had ordered a brand new Paul Bixby steel guitar, which was one of the very first pedal steel guitars ever. And it was really something to get. It was unusual. So I got the call to go down to the train station in Beaumont to pick it up. Bixby had sent it to me in Beaumont. And so I went down there with some of the guys in the band and got it off. There was a train that delivered. Took it out of the wooden platform out there, and people crowded around one another. I couldn't wait. I took the boards off and opened up the case, and there it was. And the people's going, "What the hell is that?" And pretty soon I heard a voice say, "Wow, a steel guitar! What's that? It's a steel guitar." And I thought it was George. I stand there and went, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And he said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, this is where I'm from. I've got other Marines and then back home." And anyway, make a long story longer. I said, "You should, if you're going to Nashville," I said, I think I'm going to go to Nashville. And he did, of course. And the rest is history. But I remember one night, after he had one of the first hits, he had White Lightning. I think he had Why Baby Why.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that was his first hit. It started. I got a chance to play in his earliest, demos and a bunch of stuff with the people at the Starday records. And so one night I was playing some years later I was playing, and he was somebody at that point. So one night I was playing this club in Oakland on Broadway at a place called the 1902 Club, and with a trio. And it was one of the off nights. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday or something. Probably about 10 or 12 people in there. George came walking in. He was in town, I guess, somewhere playing, I guess, and he was in the area, and he came in to see me. And I could tell he'd been drinking, And so I told the guys, I said, this is George Jones. Really? Anyway, so the guy that was doing the front of the band, he said, "Hey folks," it was about 10 or 12 sitting up in the bar, "we got George Jones with us tonight." And they would turn around like, "Oh yeah." And I said, "Really?" They said, "Oh, really? Honest to God." And so they said, and mentioned Why Baby, Why. And so let's get him to do it. So I kicked it out. Somehow I kicked it off, and he started singing it, and he just forgot the words or something. And started stumbling. And it might have been our fault. I don't know, but we weren't playing it very good. The band was steel guitar, rhythm guitar, and drums, if you can imagine. That was it. So I was doing all the leads and stuff, Anyway, it didn't sound like the record whatsoever. And so the people were all seeing that happening and turning back to the bar. And George, so we took a break, and I took him across the street to a doggy diner and got a hot dog and a cup of coffee. And that was last, and then he just vanished. He took off somewhere, and I didn't see him again for years after that. But then he became, you know, a no-show Jones for, you know, he was his worst enemy, you know. Anyway,
Yeah.
he was the greatest, to me, in my opinion, he was a country music singer's singer.
Yeah.
He was the
Yeah.
guy,
Oh, man.
he was like nobody else. Nobody had that quality in his voice that he had. It just sounded like he could make it a song really hurt you, you know, sound like he was hurting, you know, what he could do. Just unnatural. He was truly.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you, Bobby. Wow.